Hi, I'm Mark Jewell, co-founder of Selling Energy, here to share with you what I think energy professionals need to be doing today to not only survive, but also prevail and prosper despite the backdrops of a pandemic and a recession. First, a little backstory. I'm old enough to have sold for 45 years in 5 different industries. About 30 of those years I've spent in the energy space. And over the course of that period of time, I've influenced energy efficient decision making in about 3 billion square feet of North American real estate. We've also done extensive research into the winners and losers in past recessions. I've sold through 4 previous recessions. This will be my 5th. And I've also interviewed plenty of graduates from Selling Energy's curricula. We've actually graduated about 11,000 energy professionals over the last 7 to 10 years. Bottom line is, over that period of time, as we've been running Selling Energy and doing these trainings internationally, we've developed a huge repertoire of curricula that are geared to helping energy professionals be more successful. About 4,400 slides in total, about 8 full days of in-person training. But as I approached March of 2020, it occurred to me that something was really changing in the economic environment. I'd sold through 4 previous recessions. I sort of knew what a recessionary environment felt like, and I felt a little bit like the weather cricket in a matchbox. I felt that a storm was coming. Sure enough, the Federal Reserve shortly thereafter affirmed that the U.S. economy had in fact slipped into a recession as of February 2020. So I guess the matchbox cricket was right. In any case, bottom line is, we felt it was time to create a brand new curriculum called Learn the Secrets of Selling in a Recession and Put the Wind Back in Your Sails, S-A-L-E-S, to be a nice little pun. I can tell you, if you've already experienced my training, either as a keynote speaker or maybe my 1 or 2 day sessions or even my week-long boot camp, you will find that 90% or more of this content is brand new. It's about 550 slides. It's 6 hours of spoken content followed by 6 30-minute live coaching sessions, 1 for each of the 1-hour content sessions. Okay, so it's quite a lot of new material, very unique material. Okay, so by the way, if you've already experienced my recession selling training, one of the best things you could do is really live in the spirit of my late father, my 87-year-old father who passed away last year. He used to tell me over dinner, the best way to prosper yourself is to prosper others. So one of the best things you could do probably right now is pass this video along to someone whose friendship and professional association you admire and value, so they themselves can also prosper from this content. All right, but in any case, back to the story. We've got utilities, other energy professionals already experiencing this recession selling based content and getting great value from it. In fact, one utility purchased licenses for 3,500 trade allies across multiple states. We've got lots of utilities redoubling their efforts, giving not only the 6-week series, but also full day, all the content in 1-day versions of this training to their trade allies and account reps. So people are really prospering greatly and doubling down on their investment in this training because it is so successful. What's in this training? Well, there are 6 sessions. I'll tell you what each one of them is. The first one is prospering despite new constraints. This is when we talk about shaking the Etch-a-Sketch and figuring out what you're really going to focus on. We talk about what people have learned from past recessions. We talk about how to sort of rejigger, do a chiropractic readjustment in your sales approach so that you can set yourself up for prospering in this new recession. We talk about pivoting from outside to inside sales in the second session. Outside sales being, going door to door, taking people to lunch, visiting customer sites, actually in-person selling. Inside sales, of course, is the opposite of that, where you're doing everything from a remote location. Now, the smartest outside salespeople have for years been pivoting a lot of their activities to inside sales. But this robust, fast-paced, hour-long session on pivoting from outside sales to inside sales will teach you the tricks of the highest performing inside salespeople and how you can effectively pivot from an outside sales model to an inside sales model. The third session is on moving from reactive to proactive selling. And that, coupled with the fourth session, which is generating new business in a recession, will teach you how to really plumb the depths of your existing list of prospects and customers, how to leverage your existing relationships, cross-sell more effectively, upserve more effectively, network on LinkedIn more effectively, deal with trade organizations and trade journals, and create all sorts of business, whereas before you may have been just sitting back and enjoying this 11-year economic expansion and responding to people who called you, asking you to do business. The fifth session is on putting all the pieces together, and this is where we really go very, very much in detail as to what a sales playbook should look like. It's an absolute truism that people who are truly successful in their businesses spend time working on their business as opposed to just in their business. Okay? And this will talk to you about what kinds of systems, what kinds of templates, what kinds of scripts do you need to develop, what kind of sales playbook do you need to develop to make sure that all of your sellers are operating maximally, with greatest efficiency. Speaking of that, the sixth session is on optimizing sales management. And while we have 30 lessons on sales management within Selling at Six Platinum, which we'll talk about in a different video, the optimizing sales management session of this recession selling series is specifically calibrated to help sales managers adjust to perhaps a newly remote workforce, how to address these the situations, the backdrops of pandemic and recession, how to really coach and motivate their people in the middle of this situation, how to be a more effective manager. So how do you get this training? Well, you're buying single user full year licenses to this content, which entitles you to the 6 60-minute sessions, lectures if you will, webinar session, online lectures, and 30 minutes of live coaching after each session. You can experience it one of three ways. You can actually attend the 6 sessions, and these are done on the same day and same time, 6 consecutive weeks, and we have a rolling schedule of those sessions coming up in the future. We've already done it several times by the time you're watching this video. The second iteration is a full day, all the sessions in a single day, with questions and answers at the end. And the third iteration is literally the whole thing already pre-recorded so that you can experience it online on demand. So it'll be all 6 sessions, 60 minutes each, plus a previously recorded 30-minute coaching session for each one of those 6 60-minute sessions. So you can get the entire 9 hours of content today if you'd like, and binge watch it in a single sitting if you'd like. So first, let me share with you why your people need this training. And then I'll share with you why they need this training now. The first thing is you really need to help your people pivot from outside sales to inside sales. And that's going to make them more efficient and more effective overall. Secondly, you need to really teach people how to perform empathy check-ins. A lot of people are uncomfortable playing Dr. Phil. So if I tell people to call their customers and see how they're doing, they're a little uncomfortable asking personal questions like, how's your family doing? Has your spouse lost his or her job? That sort of thing. We tell you how to professionally perform an empathy check-in, and the end would be not only to show your human empathy and to increase customer loyalty, satisfaction, and goodwill, but also to really strengthen the existing relationships by exploring cross-selling and upserving opportunities, asking for referrals, and basically helping those customers and prospects address the new objections that they need to advance because their CFO has, for example, frozen all non-essential spending in the wake of the recession. You also want to actually help your people reframe energy solutions as essential spending, and that can very well be done, and we prove it in our sessions. You basically, I should say overall, you need to help your sales team turn lemons into lemonade. I mean, a lot of people when faced with a recession, especially one that involves social distancing and all these other pandemic dynamics, the natural tendency is to say, I'm going to hunker down and wait until the storm passes. It's one of the worst things they could do. Bottom line is you need to take the fact that there are some good sides to this crisis that could be leveraged to actually generate more business. Number one, a lot of decision makers are actually more available now. They don't have as many gatekeepers between you and them. They are taking their calls directly on their smartphones as opposed to being through the corporate switchboard. They may have more time to have human interactions. They may be less worried about who's overhearing their conversation with you because they're calling you safely from their study or third bedroom at home, as opposed to from their open cubicle in their Dilbert cubicle office space where anybody can be overhearing. So they tend to be more candid, more honest, more frank when they realize that nobody's overhearing. They may have actually less pressing interruptions. They may be able to concentrate on a previously submitted proposal that you gave them. They may be able to engage in hypothetical selling, saying, look, I realize you can't pull the trigger now on a project, but when this storm clears, maybe we should have all the steps in place and all the paperwork lined up so that you can issue a purchase order, et cetera, et cetera. You may find, to your glee, that a past blocker is no longer there. Maybe in the course of the furloughs and layoffs and reorganizations of org charts, maybe the person who was standing between you and a purchase order is no longer in that place anymore. So what a great time to circle back with your internal champion and get this project approved. You may find that people have more time to consider proposals. You may find that people are more willing to reframe a past submitted proposal so that it resonates with what their CFOs and CEOs and COOs are most concerned about these days. Like, let's say you're a lighting retrofit contractor. Maybe you could give them a proposal reframed to include UVC, germicidal lighting. Now all of a sudden the money for the project comes not out of the efficiency or sustainability budget, but out of the safety budget. Maybe you're an HVAC contractor and you can talk about HEPA filtration or other ways to clean the airstream to make sure that when their workers return to the workplace, they're returning to a safe working environment. So there are lots of ways you can put a spin on this. In fact, overall, you may be able to say, this is a fundamentally different project because the cost of capital is so much lower based on the trillions of dollars of liquidity that the Federal Reserve has injected into the economy. Now you can actually get a third-party financing agent to put the money in for this project, and the savings will be more than enough to cover the debt service at the new lower interest rates. Similarly, you might be able to cite some very specific non-utility cost financial benefits or non-financial benefits that would make this project sail through approvals, because at the end of the day, the utility cost savings and the rebates, the bits, bytes, and blinking lights were never really enough to get people emotionally excited about the project. But now that you can put a new spin on it, you can actually reframe these projects that you're proposing as things that would help your customers regain their financial footing in the wake of what impacts the recession and the pandemic have had on their own business. So why do you need this training now? Well, you need it because you need to keep your sales team's morale high, and you need them to be equipped and empowered to address the new objections they're hearing. You certainly can't afford to have your people waiting out the storm because we don't know how long the storm's going to be. You certainly can't have people practicing on prospects. That would just be unwise. It's hard enough to close a deal. It's even harder to close deals when there are fewer prospects with spending authority. You certainly want to give people answers to new objections so they don't get caught flat-footed when they get told that the CFO has put the kibosh on anything but essential spending. But from a practical standpoint, you need to recover weeks of lost selling time. I mean, think about it. Your people had to transition to selling at home, perhaps. They've been prevented from doing audits on site. Maybe some of their decision makers have been rather scarce. You've lost weeks of selling time, so you need to make that up if you hope to make your annual goals. And of course, by becoming a more efficient, more effective seller, you can do that. You want to capitalize on the fact that some of these decision makers actually are either better positioned because some of the blockers have been outplaced, or they may have more time to speak with you. So you need to really capitalize on that opportunity. It may not come around again once the economy spins up and these people become embroiled back at the office in day-to-day craziness. Also, think about it. Your people are probably doing less commuting. They're certainly visiting customers less often, if at all. They've got more time on their hands. They've got the time now to sharpen the saw. So if there's ever a time to reframe the way your people are approaching sales, it's now. They should be sharpening the saw, they should be tensioning their catapult, and basically preparing themselves to pack that funnel full, that pipeline full of new projects for upcoming quarters. They're planting seeds that be harvested in the fall or the winter or thereafter. You also want to make sure that they really know how to do an effective customer check-in. It's one thing to say, hey, Bill, hey, Jane, how are you doing? It's another thing to really plumb the depths of what's happening in their organization. How are their customers doing? How are their supply chain partners doing? What budgets for that had previously been earmarked for manufacturing expansion in the wake of this really great economy we just came out of, what dollars could maybe be repurposed in this year's budget to pay for expense-reducing capital projects? Because now the problem is not meeting extra revenue expectations. The problem is actually coping with lost revenue and replacing that lost bottom line profit. Maybe you can do so by taking some of the expenses off that side of the income statement. So you've got lots of things that you can be talking to customers about, and you need to think about empowering your salespeople to fundamentally pivot their approach, not just from outside sales to inside sales, but fundamentally pivot how they're talking to customers and what topics they're talking about, what questions they're asking. One of the other realities is that chances are you've had a lot lower T&E budget for your traveling salespeople. You've probably had less trade shows to exhibit at. You've probably had to buy less tickets to conferences. And all those dollars, ideally, should be repositioned as sales training. You know why? Because all those activities you used to spend money on were designed to put leads in the top of your funnel. Guess what? You got a big vacuum up there. You didn't go to the trade show and collect 129 business cards or scan 129 badges. So now you got to sharpen the saw and make sure your people know how to prospect remotely. Okay, great time to invest in Selling Energy's sales training in mobile format. You also have to realize that a lot of calendar year companies, your customers' companies, do their budget planning for 2021 in the summer and early fall. So now is the time to equip your people with these new approaches. Now's the time to give them the courage to go out and talk about non-utility costs and non-financial benefits. Now's the time to have them ask better questions about their capital and the condition of their prospects and customers, and how you might help those prospects and customers regain their financial footing. Okay. So let's assume anything I just said attracts your attention and you're thinking, you know what, I should enroll myself and my sales team in this recession-based selling training. I mean, the guy has experience selling through 4 different recessions. He seems like he's talked to a lot of people, done a lot of research, and maybe there's some good gold in our hills I should avail my salespeople of. Okay, so assuming you want to sign up, here's how you do it. Each licensee, it's a single user full year license. Each licensee gets access to 6 live webinars and the live coaching afterwards, and or the 6-session program all in one day, one big live webinar streaming day with the coaching afterwards, and or the online on-demand version of all the content. Okay, it's all the same price, it's all included. You can take any format you want. You also get a copy of our Wall Street Journal best-selling book, Selling Energy, Inspiring Ideas that help get more projects approved. You get invitations to our 2-hour mastermind group coaching conference calls, which are an invaluable addition to this because it really gives you one-on-one contact with me so that you can actually address the challenges that these salespeople are actually having selling your particular value proposition in your particular climate with your particular customers. You get access to our daily blog, of course, as well. Now, if you were a large enough organization to sponsor this for a group, you would also get a private labeled registration page for your audience, a private label marketing materials. You would also get assistance with marketing outreach to encourage registration if you desire that. Registration management, tracking customer service, hosting of all the live webinars and coaching sessions, hosting of all the online on-demand stuff on our private on our learning management system, which would have a page private labeled for your organization. Periodic reporting on both the registration and the viewing statistics, as well as full insights into full visibility to all the post-training surveys, including any testimonials. And, this is really important, also the ability to recapture any unviewed licenses, any non-viewed licenses, so that you can reassign them to potentially more engaged learners and with a fresh 12-month term. So, bottom line is, this is a sales manager's dream. You can get your people tuned up to sell in today's environment, get them motivated, excited, empowered. You get them live coaching, you get them the online coaching, you get them new approaches that they can do to revitalize projects that are currently ignored or stymied or even rejected. You can get people really talking the way they need to be talking in today's recession so that you can regain your own footing and make 2020 a winning year. So in summary, the combination of the pandemic and the recession, without a doubt, has created a great amount of chaos. But I can assure you, from having lived through and sold through 4 previous recessions, this is my 5th, that within that chaos is hiding opportunity. We have helped thousands of people with this recession selling training, both in the US and Canada. We've had utilities buy thousands of licenses to this for their trade allies. We've had manufacturers and distributors and other people buy it for both their own people and their trading partners. So we know this stuff has people have a great appetite for this stuff, and people are getting a lot out of it. If you're interested in exploring how we can also prosper your organization in a similar fashion, I would welcome you to schedule a 30 or a 60-minute strategy session with me. We can do a Zoom call, and we can explore how we can apply this best practice to your sales organization. It would be my honor to explore that with you. Meanwhile, thanks for listening, and I certainly hope we get a chance to chat live soon. Meanwhile, bye-bye for now. Thank you very much.